CBS News Chief White House correspondent Major Garrett joins us now. So, Major, President Trump said that he would be willing to shut down the government if the Democrats aren't willing to approve his border wall plan. What's the latest on that?
Well, the president said he's perfectly comfortable during the press conference today with the Italian Prime Minister Conte to shut the government down over this issue. Now, it's worth pointing out, Elaine, that the appropriations process, meaning the annual process by which Congress passes and sends to the president's desk the relevant spending bills to keep the government open, is bogged down anyway. And the need for some intervention by the president to avoid a shutdown exists already without any threat to shut the government down over border wall or other immigration reforms. So the president was going to have to deal with this issue one way or the other. He's now putting a very abject political context around dealing with a shutdown and trying to avert it or trying to create a larger political discussion around it. The Republican-led Congress is way behind on passing the spending bills to keep the government operating after the end of the fiscal year, which expires at the end of September. So the president now has a threat out there. If there is not only border security funding, the president has asked for $25 billion for the wall, but many other immigration reforms, he says he's currently willing to shut the government down. Are Republicans? Well, if you listen to the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, he's not. If you listen to Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, he's not. Most rank-and-file Republicans are not prepared to wage that battle either. So the president may do this, but he may do it with far fewer Republican allies than he might currently expect. But that's the threat now. We're not even in August yet. There's a long way to go. But the president is at least trying to put some political intensity on the immigration issue around what is already an underlying problem. Republicans are way behind funding the government, and there's going to have to be a resolution one way or the other.
Let's turn to another issue here. In that press conference with the Italian Prime Minister, President Trump said he would be willing to meet with the leader of Iran to discuss the nuclear deal. Here's what he said.
I'll meet with anybody. I believe in meeting. The Prime Minister said it better than anybody can say it. Speaking to other people, especially when you're talking about potentials of war and death and famine and lots of other things, you meet. There's nothing wrong with meeting.
So how likely, Major, is that meeting? Do we have any sense at all at this point?
No, we really don't. And you'd have to put it in the unlikely category. But remember, Elaine, we would have said that about a potential presidential Trump summit with Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, the dictator of North Korea, if we'd been asked that question 12 months ago. That would have been highly, highly unlikely. So we have to put it in that category, but also acknowledge that nothing is impossible where President Trump is concerned. Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, was asked by CNBC just moments after that no preconditions declaration from the president if he was on board with that. He said, yes, I'm fully on board with meetings, provided Iran changes many of its behaviors. Pursuit of nuclear weapon or proliferation, terrorist activities, either in Iraq, Syria, Yemen or Lebanon. Those are alleged terrorist activities by the Trump administration, and lots of other things. So essentially the Iranian regime would have to change most of its foreign policy construct to win a meeting with President Trump, or at least have something worth talking about. That also appears highly unlikely. And it certainly contrasts very sharply with the Twitter rhetoric that came from President Trump just a week ago, which sounded very much like, watch what you say and do, Iran, or we could be heading toward war. So lots of mixed signals on this.
Finally, Major, on the Russia investigation, you spoke with President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, Monday. What did you learn from that conversation?
Incremental things. Rudy Giuliani quite obviously talks to a lot of reporters. He talks to them on the phone. He appears on television with some frequency. One thing that captured a lot of social media chatter this morning was Rudy Giuliani said there's no collusion, so it doesn't matter if there was any colluding-like activities between the campaign and the Russians. It's not in the federal code. It doesn't matter. As a technical matter, we've discussed this before, that's true. Collusion is not defined by the U.S. Code. It's not defined, therefore it can't be prosecuted. But obstruction of justice and conspiracy are and can be and have been. I asked Rudy Giuliani, yes, you're denying there's collusion, but you know that's denying something that doesn't matter. He said, I agree. What about obstruction of justice and conspiracy? On behalf of the president, do you categorically deny any behavior within the campaign or the president that could be construed or prosecuted as obstruction of justice or conspiracy? He said absolutely, full-blown denial. He also said it's more unlikely than ever that there'll be an interview between the president and Robert Mueller and or his team. He also said there's nothing that Michael Cohen knows that could be harmful to the president. That's what Rudy Giuliani says. We await to see.
All right. Major Garrett at the White House for us. Major, thanks very much.
Sure.